it can look like crap, really. Hey folks, it's Carrie from Pretty Neat. Thanks for joining me. If you're new here to my channel, welcome. I share new videos here every week about organizing and decluttering your home and adopting a minimalist mindset. So I hope you'll hit the subscribe button and stick around. Today I have a book review for you, and the book is called How to Keep House While Drowning. And the author is KC Davis. And her backstory is pretty interesting. She talks about dealing with addiction at an early age and becoming a therapist eventually in her adulthood. She talks about her struggles with mental health, and in particular, her pretty severe postpartum anxiety that she went through with her first child. When she was pregnant with her second child, she said that she created a whole care plan of people to help her out. And a couple months after her child was born, it was the pandemic. So all of her plans were out the window. Her book is really about how to keep your home and your basic self-care tasks going when you're really struggling. Her advice is really useful, I think, for anyone who struggles at times with just keeping basic life things going. I think that during the pandemic, we all have been there. We have all had weeks and months where life just feels heavy, and even just getting the basics done around your house has been too much. So I would recommend this book wholeheartedly to pretty much anyone, but in particular, if you're dealing with any type of mental health struggles, if life circumstances are just difficult for you and you are having trouble getting out of bed in the morning, if you're having trouble just getting the dishes done or the laundry done, I think that there are great lessons in this book that would help you out. One of the main lessons that goes throughout this entire book is that of being non-judgmental to ourselves, giving ourselves a break and just doing the bare minimum and being okay with that. And I think this is hard for a lot of us. I know personally, I am a perfectionist. It's easy to get hung up on this idea that things have to be done a certain way, that things have to be done perfectly. And if you can't do that, then it just feels hopeless. And her take-home message is it's really okay to half-ass things. It's really okay to do the bare minimum and to do things to make it easier for yourself. And you should not judge yourself if that's the place you're in right now. If you just don't have the energy to clean according to your standards, it's okay to really just do a crappy job of it, and that's better than doing nothing at all. Here's an example I want to read from the book. She says care tasks, and by care tasks, she means caring for yourself, for your body, and caring for your home. Care tasks are morally neutral. She says being good or bad at them has nothing to do with being a good person, a good parent, man, woman, spouse, friend. Literally nothing. You are not a failure because you can't keep up with laundry. Laundry is morally neutral. I just think this is such a good lesson, and it's something that really we all need to hear once in a while. She not only tackles mindset issues like this non-judgmental attitude, but she gives some really practical advice in this book as well. One really practical bit of advice is in her chapter called The 5 Things Tidying Method. And she says that this is useful when you have a room that just is a disaster and it feels overwhelming to tackle. She says there are only 5 things in any room, 5 types of objects. And by looking at it in this way, it can kind of help you break things down and decide where to start. She says in any room, the only 5 things that are in there are trash, dishes, laundry, things that have a place and are not in their place, and things that do not have a place. She says you can look at these different categories and you can choose to only address one of them or maybe a couple of them, and you can prioritize which are the most important. So for example, she says you might want to tackle dishes first, because if you leave dirty dishes around, you might be getting stuff that's moldy in the room. You might be inviting in insects. So step one, if you have an overwhelming space to clean up, you might just go around and pick up all the dishes and bring them to the kitchen. You don't necessarily have to wash them. You know, you don't have to do anything, but just getting them into the kitchen sink is a good starting place. You also might just go around with a trash bag and pick up all the trash. Just doing that will make the room look better and it will feel a little less overwhelming. Same with laundry. Grab a laundry basket and just go around the room and pick up all the laundry. You've now just taken the surface things out of that room, and just doing those things is going to make the task of picking up feel so much more doable. And then she says, for the things that are not in their place, taking a step to pick them all up and put them in the place where they belong is again another step. And then the final step are the things that don't have a place, things that are just sitting out. And with those, you might assign them a place to live, a place to put them away, or you might decide to get rid of some of them. But by identifying these 5 categories, again, it's laundry, dishes, trash, things that have a place, and things that don't have a place, you can decide on what's most important to tackle, and you can just easily do one of those, 2 of those, and you know, if you don't have the energy to tackle the whole room, you don't have to. But by breaking it down, it just gives you some easy steps and a place to start when you feel overwhelmed by the mess. A term that she uses in the book to talk about a space that is very non-judgmental, she says that this space has reached the end of its functional cycle. And I really like this because usually the way we talk about our homes is very judgmental. We usually say this place is a mess, it's a disaster, it's overwhelming, it's all of these things. And somehow that language makes it even harder to think about picking it up. But when we say that a space has reached the end of its functional cycle, there's no judgment there. It's just a statement of fact. So an example of this might be all of the dishes are dirty and they're sitting out on the countertop. The kitchen has reached the end of its functional cycle. The kitchen is no longer functional because there's no counter space and there are no clean dishes. So rather than really beating ourselves up for letting the kitchen get so bad, we can just say, oh, the kitchen has reached the end of its functional cycle. I need to address something in here. Maybe put all the dishes in the dishwasher, maybe wipe down the counters, and then I will be able to use the kitchen again for its designated function. One point that she makes in the book that I really agree with is she says that organization does not have to be pretty. And this is something that I think with Instagram, with Pinterest, with all of these decorating and organizing shows, it's easy to get caught up in this idea that in order for our home to be organized, it has to meet this aesthetic standard. Like it has to be like in rainbow order, like the home edit, or all the containers have to match, or everything has to be perfectly lined up. Her point is we should look at organization and aesthetics as 2 separate things. This sentence kind of sums this idea up. It's important to remember that not everything has to be aesthetically pleasing to be organized, and not everything aesthetically pleasing is functional. As a professional organizer, that really resonates with me because I hate to always beat up on the home edit, but I watch shows like the home edit, and while their method of organizing is very aesthetically pleasing, it looks great on Instagram, I often find myself asking, is this really functional for the people who live there? Are they really going to keep their pantry items in rainbow order? And does that even make sense in terms of finding things in the pantry? I think if we can just let go of these expectations that we have to make things look great in order for them to be organized, it can look like crap, really. Nothing has to match, nothing has to be perfectly arranged. But if you know where to find things, if everything has a place to live and you know where that place is, if you can access your things easily when you need them and put them away easily, that's organized. It doesn't have to look good for it to be functional. To wrap up, she talks about accepting help and how needing help is not a moral failing, that there are times when we are not as able to contribute to the household as much as other people can, or as much as we can when we're kind of in a better state. And that is okay. We can accept that about ourselves and we can ask for help. And I want to just read a passage. She says, contribution and productivity are not moral values, but non-exploitation and humility are. When someone demands the benefits of being part of a family but refuses responsibilities to that family of which they are capable, it is a form of entitlement that exploits the other members of that family. However, having a limited capacity is not the same as being entitled, and accepting help is not the same as exploiting others. And that, I think, is really an important thing to keep in mind. We all go through ups and downs. If the last couple years of this pandemic has taught us anything, it's that we are going to be better capable of taking care of our homes and taking care of ourselves at some times and not so much at others. It is okay to ask for help, and it is okay if we are just not fully functional sometimes. So I would 100% recommend this book. It's a short read. It's a valuable read. If you are currently struggling to take care of your home or to take care of yourself, I think that this book will give you some good advice. It will also help you with your mindset so that you don't beat yourself up over it, and you can look at what you're going through with a non-judgmental lens. I will link to this book down below, and I got mine from the local library. I always recommend that. If you liked this video, I hope you'll hit the like button. It does help my channel out a lot. And don't forget to subscribe. I share new videos here every week about organizing and decluttering your home and adopting a minimalist mindset. Talk to you soon.